Douglas. Last week, with it being the week of Thanksgiving, we sent out a big thank you to all of our volunteers and supporters for the Sylacauga Animal Shelter, for Feral Dogs of Avondale Mill. But I would argue, and she's not going to want me to say this, but I would argue that my next guest today is one of our most dedicated volunteers at the Sylacauga Animal Shelter. She fosters dogs, she walks dogs regularly. I've seen her out there giving dogs baths, making sure that all the dog bowls are clean. She does a wonderful job marketing all the available dogs there and takes dogs out on doggy day outs with Adopt Me leashes and helps with adoption events. So Lynn Averett, thank you so much for coming on and talking with me this morning.
Good morning.
So let's talk about, you're not the only volunteer that's done an amazing job at the shelter. And we appreciate everything you do, and we appreciate everything that's going on there. We've had such an outpouring of community support over the last year, over the last 6 months especially. So let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk about the people that are coming and things that are happening at that shelter.
Well, you know about the dog walking program. That seems to be getting bigger and bigger and bigger as the community becomes more and more aware of the needs of the dogs. We have volunteer Liz. She comes on dog walking Saturdays. She comes during the week. Just anytime that she has free time, and anybody can come and volunteer anytime. Just let the shelter know and come spend time with the dogs. Come help out, wash dog bowls. It's work, but it's worth it. It is so worth it because the dogs really need all that they can have, and they love the human interaction. So with the dog walkers, with people who donate food, donate money, feral dogs who work with the rescues and pull the puppies and the dogs out of the shelter so that they can go to a rescue. It's just a phenomenal job that everybody's doing, and it takes the community. And if everybody pulls together, you start seeing results and positive results for the dogs, because the intake and the influx of stray dogs and puppies is endless. It's endless. And we did a lot of dogs out last month with the sponsorship of Sylacauga Toyota, and that's going to end, I believe, the end of November. I think there's one more day. It may go into December, but that hasn't been decided. But they've been sponsoring the adoptions for the month, and we had an increase in adoptions, and it was just phenomenal, and they're more than thrilled about it, and we do thank them so much. But with them and any other corporate or businesses or local businesses that want to help and lend a hand, do a food drive, take up donations, whatever you would like to do that would benefit the shelter, it would be most appreciated.
And let's break down some of that and talk about it. Now, first of all, we had Chris Kane on here from Toyota of Sylacauga last week.
Right.
And that campaign has been phenomenal. Because you were telling me, how many adoptions have there been?
Last I heard, which was yesterday, we adopted 71 dogs out last month.
That's phenomenal.
It is very phenomenal. It's more than I've ever seen since I've been volunteering.
And as phenomenal as that is, and as much as we appreciate people adopting the animals and taking an interest in the Sylacauga shelter, like you were saying, though, we do have a constant influx of dogs and cats coming in there. So there's a lot of dogs coming in to fill those spaces. I had someone mention to me yesterday, oh, I know that the shelter must be so thrilled with all the dogs leaving and how empty it is, but it's not empty. There's still work to be done.
It's still full. Every day you'll see posts from the Sylacauga Animal Shelter, stray on hold, stray on hold. Sometimes there's one, sometimes there's two, sometimes there's as many as 4 or 5. That's not counting, the mother dogs that have been left at the shelter that have had puppies this past month. I think 27 puppies this month. Okay. So it's still in what I consider a full capacity mode, and so we would like to keep up the momentum with community involvement, with people coming to look at the dogs. If you're looking for a dog, now's the time to do it. And see what you can do to help with the shelter. Even if you want to come out and walk one dog, that's one dog that got walked, because if we don't walk those dogs, they don't typically get out and get walked. And so they're in a kennel 24/7, and that's just not good for the dog.
And that's because with so many dogs coming in, the shelter staff, they do a beautiful job.
Yes, they do.
They just are overwhelmed with the numbers that they have to take care of.
We have some of the most dedicated shelter workers and shelter staff that there is. They are committed and love the dogs and take very good care of the dogs.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Now we have other sponsors. You know, we've got the Toyota of Sylacauga that we mentioned. But we
Right.
also have Bourbon on Broadway. Angela
Yes.
Wilson is leading a food drive, a supply drive. So that, I just looked at their Facebook page. That's going on till the end of this month.
Is
and
it?
so,
Okay.
so make sure that, I guess that's today or tomorrow. I don't know.
I think it's tomorrow.
Okay, so make sure that if you have some food donations, if you have any kind of cleaning supplies, if you have cat litter, drop it off at Bourbon on Broadway, or I mean, there's always the option to
There's
take it directly to the
also-
shelter.
There's also a wish list on Amazon, and if you order from there, you can ship it directly to the shelter. I'm going to see if we can't get that link posted on the shelter page today. I know that it is out there, and I had trouble finding it when I went to Amazon, but if I go through the link, I don't have a problem at all. So we're going to make sure that link is available.
And I know everybody at the shelter, including you, everyone's working really hard to get as much support as we can
Yes.
through individuals and businesses.
Right.
And you know, I think that it's been successful.
It has.
It's great
been
to get
amazing.
the word out.
The community is really pulling together with the shelter and trying to assist the shelter, and it's rewarding. It's rewarding when you see a dog that gets adopted that you've been trying to get adopted for a year or so, and it just warms your heart. It makes you feel like, you know, that we do have a purpose, and it is working, and it is positive.
And every dog or cat that you find a home, that is, it's, you know, there's so many, it can be overwhelming sometimes as a shelter volunteer, but at the same time, every time you find one of them a home, it's amazing.
Right,
It's,
exactly.
So let's talk about, there are some other events going on here. Oh, well, let's talk about with these pictures. So you've got a very interesting story with your love you have of Kemp and Kobe and Kimberly. We have I had Lynn and Michelle Smith on the show several months back. This is a litter of puppies that Michelle Smith found. They grew up at the shelter. Not this dog, we'll get back to this pup. But these black dogs, those are the ones that Michelle found, and you fostered one of the siblings.
Kimberly.
And Kimberly now has a home in Florida.
Port St. Lucie.
So exciting. But
Yeah.
Kemp and Kobe are still there. And this
Yeah.
is Kemp, isn't it? I believe.
I believe that's Kemp. They're hard to tell apart.
And that's
That's
Kobe.
Kobe. And right now they're at For Love of Dogs with Meredith Dempsey. We've sent them there for a month of training and relaxation.
Kimberly
There's
in
Kimberly.
Florida.
Yes, in Florida with her new adopters. But we've sent Kemp and Kobe for a month of relaxation and training to get them more socialized. They're timid like Kimberly was, and but they're wonderful, loving, sweet babies that are good with people, good with other dogs. I mean,
there he is with Lily, one of our regular dog walkers.
And see how he's just loving on her. He does love her. They're very good dogs, and I just want the best for them, and we think this is going to be something great for them. They are both neutered now, heartworm negative, up to date on their shots, and they're beautiful dogs, and they're full grown. They're a little over a year, and that's
And
sister.
Kimberly spent some time with Meredith also.
Yes, she did.
And
She spent about a month.
And so Meredith, she's in Alabaster, and she's with For the Love of Dog. She helps so much for this community because
Yes.
she allows Sylacauga shelter dogs to come to her at a very low price
Yes.
through her boarding, and she also is a trainer. And she'll take those dogs and she'll train them, and she'll give us so much information about them and get them to where you have a very unique opportunity to adopt a dog that has gone through a lot of interaction with other dogs, has gone through a lot of training, and I just think it's phenomenal that we have Kemp
she
and
does
Kobe
a great
there.
job. A great job. In fact, you know, I'm looking at other dogs that can go to her after Kemp and Kobe are done. But it is a great break for them, and they needed to be out of the shelter for a little while anyway. So,
And that's another way that if again, getting back to community support, that's another way that you can certainly support. You don't have to physically show up at the shelter to wash a
No.
dog or wash a bowl or walk a dog, but there's so many ways, and part of that is sponsoring. 'cause
sponsoring
with-
a dog to go to For Love of Dogs. It's a wonderful place, a wonderful place, and Meredith is a wonderful lady. So.
And then we talked about donations. We also have the B.B. Comer Memorial Library has Deck the Paws all season long.
Right,
When
that's
we
right.
have holidays each year, they have a tree that's upstairs, and you can buy a little ornament, write your dog or cat's name on it, or and I talked to the library. They said you can put a person's name on it. You can dedicate that ornament to anybody, and all the proceeds go to help the animals in the area.
Great,
So
great.
we've got Deck the Paws happening, and we've also got an auction that's happening because we talked about all of the adoptions that have happened with Toyota of Sylacauga. A lot of those dogs are heartworm
Yes.
positive, and we're raising money through an auction with Feral Dogs of Avondale Mill, and that is going to be the second weekend. We had planned on the first weekend of December, but we're still getting a lot of donations in. So in order to prepare the best for this auction, we're going to have the auction the second week of December instead. So make sure you follow the Feral Dogs Facebook page so you can see exactly when the auction is going to start and what we have available, because all of that money is going to go toward heartworm treatment for these dogs that have been adopted and for these
Right.
families that have taken
It's
on
very
these
important.
wonderful shelter dogs.
Yes.
Now-
and we thank Feral Dogs too for all that. They support the shelter and they work together with the shelter very well. And without those two together, I mean, we wouldn't be having the positive results that we have.
Now, we talked about Kemp and Kobe and Kimberly growing up at the shelter.
Yes.
And we talked about, getting Kemp and Kobe out to Meredith and how Kimberly got adopted in Florida. We also have another dog that's been there. Lynn and I were just talking about it. We believe she's the longest resident at the animal shelter. And it was the brown dog we popped up a second ago, and we'll have her picture back up in a moment. But let's talk about Constance. There she is.
Constance is
sweet
a
dog.
sweet, mild-mannered dog. She's been there since July of 2022. If she's not the oldest resident, she's very close. I believe she's the oldest at this point.
And she's what,
3
4
years old. 3,
Oh,
4.
okay.
Yeah, and I don't know, but I thought she was spayed. But if she's not, her adoption will cover her being spayed. She is very sweet, very mild-mannered. She walks well on a leash, and she is just a sweet baby. She needs to have her home for Christmas. I would love to see her be able to be adopted and have a home for Christmas. I do know that there is a member of the community that is willing to sponsor her adoption. Should someone see an interest in her, go out to the shelter, take her out of her kennel, go walk her, get to know her, and you'll see exactly how wonderful she is. And if someone, the right home wants to adopt her, this person is willing to sponsor her adoption.
And I know that she is one of the favorites of the walkers.
She
and
is.
She's one that stands out that most people absolutely remember when they come and walk her, and the next time we bring her out, they're like, oh, it's Constance. So she's just such a sweet dog that it would be wonderful to find her a home.
The way to get the best impression of her, though, is to walk her and to get her out, because then you see just how precious she is.
Absolutely. And we've got a lot of precious dogs
Oh,
there.
we do. We
So
do.
certainly if you are looking for a dog and you want to adopt a dog, Lynn and I have also talked about how important it is to make sure that it's the right fit and that it's the right time in your life to have a pet so that it can
Right.
be a successful adoption. But please come out, meet all of those wonderful dogs that we have at the shelter. And if you come on a Saturday from 11 to 1, every Saturday we're out there, and we need all the help that we can get.
Rain or shine.
Rain or shine, we're there. But that's a good time where you can talk to a lot of the volunteers, because those volunteers know these dogs. And we have so much support now that there's a lot of information you can get about the dogs. So
Yes, there is.
you can contact Lynn, you can contact me. We all are happy to give out information. But Lynn, thank you so much
welcome.
for coming on the show. I'll have you on again, because every time I know there's so much that we need to talk about. But just know how much you're appreciated, even though you've thanked everybody that's helping. Thank you for everything that you do for the shelter and all of your support. And watch Facebook. If you get any information about dogs that are available at the shelter, share those posts, because you don't know who
Right.
it's a friend of yours on Facebook that'll see that post that'll want to adopt one of these dogs.
Right.
And, thank you for joining us, and we'll have more Daybreak after these messages.
Dear humans, I stand here today not for myself, but for every tail wagger, sloppy kisser, and curtain ninja. I stand here for each one of the thousands of dogs and cats killed in shelters each day, asking you to join our cause and help us make sure every best friend has a chance to meet one of their own. With Best Friends Animal Society leading the charge and your help, we can save them all.